Hey, everybody, welcome back to At Home, the series where I get a chance to talk with other folks inside and out of Cisco about how this crisis has affected them. All of us are dealing with this in just different ways. We have different responsibilities and different home situations, as well as different professional situations. So I think it's really good for us to get a chance to talk with different folks about how this has affected them and what life is like. So today we are at home with Rolly Lagman. Rolly, how is it going, man?
Doing well, Jeff. How you doing, man?
Not bad, not bad. It feels like forever since I got to see you. I remember I've we've surprised people randomly at like Cisco Lives or
Yep.
Impacts because we'll always end up running into each other. We stop to take a picture. People are like, "Wait, what is happening here?" It's hilarious. So
I do miss that right now. I'm not gonna lie.
I feel you, man. I feel you. Just being around a couple other human beings is super helpful. So I guess the thing I like to do to open this up is just really simple. How are you doing right now?
I'm doing pretty well. I appreciate you asking. Just like I think with anyone and everyone, the answer varies depending on when you ask me.
Mm-hmm.
You could ask me in 5, 10, 20 minutes, and that can be completely different. And that's one of those things that I think we have to all be honest with ourselves. That could change from minute to minute, right? I don't know that anything has resonated with me more than that during this crisis, right? It's okay for things to be different from minute to minute. You should expect them to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's the biggest thing. So for right now, everything's great. It's really hard to complain when you take a step back and look at the bigger picture. We're fairly blessed. You're at home, your family's with you, right? You've got a good job with a good company, good team, things like that, right? It's hard to complain. We have some blessings in our lives, and then that's what keeps me going personally.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And you're right. I mean, I could be more thankful to be at this company specifically with the culture that we have and the ability to be this flexible with work. I mean, that said, being at home, I mean, it's probably a little bit different for you. Well, it's different for both of us, obviously.
Sure.
I think you've got kids a little bit older than mine. I have a 4.5-year-old. That's its own sort of challenge. I have a 4.5-year-old in the house, but I've got to imagine having older kids who are used to being either social with their friends or out doing activities like sports or whatever you guys are involved in. Makes it challenging. How are they? How are you guys dealing with that at home? Like, how has that dynamic been working out?
It certainly is a huge change. As you said, younger kids versus some older kids, different challenges, different needs. Before coming to Cisco, I was a consultant, so I did a fair amount of working from home. And to be honest with you, somewhat selfish, right? In the summers when my kids are home, I just remind them, hey, Dad's working from home today. Just keep it down to a low, a dull roar. Or I'll let them know, hey, I'm going to be on the video, or hey, I'm presenting. Can you just keep it down a little? Take it outside, do it in the basement, whatever you got to do. And one of the big things I really had to adjust is that's not the case anymore. This isn't like them being home for the summer, right? This is their office too, right? My oldest is in college. She's supposed to be a freshman, downtown in the city, right? And this is different for her too. So, and my wife, she's not used to everybody being here, but also having responsibilities. So, I had to change my perspective from that. It's no longer, hey, Dad's working, right? It's also, okay, who else is working? Is my daughter on a telelearning class from her room, or, in the study, or in the kitchen? So I actually have to be cognizant of what they have to do as well, because, right, we want to give them an environment where they can have some privacy, where they can collaborate with their friends or classmates. So it takes a little bit of extra effort there too. And same thing with my wife, right? She's doing a lot of conferences. She's a nurse, so she's doing a lot of conferences with her peers as they're figuring out new ways to approach things. They're getting updated on procedures for the hospital and policies. So she's actively working from home more than she ever would as well, along with her normal full time at the hospital. So everybody has a right to the time and to the space, and we all have to be cognizant and respectful for each other. And I'm not saying we weren't before.
Yeah.
But, for me, it was fairly one-sided. Hey, I've got to be on video. Everybody just do what you got to do, but just keep it down a little bit. Where now it's everybody has to be aware of what everybody's trying to do.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I did not know she was a nurse. Hopefully you guys are able to, all stay safe, and her especially be able to stay as safe and healthy as possible.
The hospital's been doing a great job. So it's a stressor, but to be honest with you, I know she's cognizant. The hospitals are doing the best that they can, and she's doing her thing.
Good. So, okay. Super happy to hear that. I know I can only imagine. I mean, obviously can only imagine how stressful that part could be. So that's a whole other rhythm that you got to figure out. Like, how do you do all the things that you just described while also balancing her need to do her professional career, which is to help other people, and balance your own family's health and safety. I mean, that's challenging for sure. I mean, you got to have a lot of empathy for that. I mean,
Absolutely. And I don't know what, honestly, again, I don't know what her day looked like at the hospital, right? She could have had a, fairly simple day.
Mm-hmm.
She could have had a really tough, little stress. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't, and it's one of those things you never want to talk too much about it. You don't want to ignore it. You just want to provide that right balance. And I think that's the biggest key to everything that we're doing right now is finding balance. And like I said, it's dynamic, it's fluid, it changes from minute to minute, hour to hour, day to day, person to person. So as long as you're aware and respectful of that, I think we'll all find a way together to help each other through it.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because it's, I don't know if I heard you say the word, but I think it was implied in there, which is, everyone being willing to give themselves permission.
Oh, absolutely.
To be dynamic. Because if you try to create a heavily structured schedule for yourself that is like we could do in the past, it might work, but it might artificially, and very likely will artificially, inject in a lot of stress and frustration where it doesn't need to exist. But we so often, especially in sales, like we're both in, we so often feel like, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but feel like we have to be on in a very particular way at very particular times, in very particular ways. And to give ourselves permission to say, it doesn't have to look like that. And others will be okay with it because they're dealing with the same sorts of things. I think that's the whole point of these sorts of conversations, is allowing other people to hear that what you're doing is clearly going to look different than what I'm doing, because you have a different life than I do, and a different background. And same thing here. And that's okay. Like, that's perfectly fine.
I mean, I defaulted to wanting to create a schedule. I specifically addressed it with my kids. Hey, now that you're coming, you're working from home, I'm not saying you have to get up like you normally do for school. You don't have to do these and these hours, but I just said, give yourself some sort of a schedule to follow, to give yourself a routine. And I backtracked from that very quickly.
Yeah.
Because under normal circumstances, that works great, but these aren't normal by any stretch of the imagination. So exactly to your point, we went to some spontaneity where it's like, okay, I know you have classes today, but you know what? Put it away. If you don't have to be on a call, you don't have to collaborate with a teammate. Let's take the dog for an extended walk. Let's just sit down and hang out for a little bit. Let's go running, support a local business here and get some crazy, gourmet, milkshakes or something, just to spend some time together. Right.
Yes.
Whatever Absolutely. It takes, spend some different time, and really appreciate the fact, again, we're under one roof. I can't complain. My parents are healthy. My brother and his family are healthy.
Absolutely.
It's really hard to complain. The house is big enough, thankfully, to accommodate all of us. We haven't downsized yet. Only one kid in college. We're planning down the road, a few years from now, when all the kids are off, that's our main focus. Downsize. We don't need this house anymore. Well, if this would have happened down the road and the kids had to come home, what would that have looked like? We would have been run on top of each other. We're not right now. So
that's good to hear. Yeah. It's, one of the tricks we sort of used, we did this a few weeks back, very much to your point, is we realized that trying to be overly structured wasn't going to work. But what we all also realized is my wife runs, so she's run a digital marketing business since long before I ever met her. And so she works completely remote, always has. Well, how do we do that now that she's actually pivoting to do more web-based stuff like what we're doing here that she's never done before? Well, she sits literally 8 inches. My arm is touching her monitor right now. Like, so we shared this office. And so she needs time to be in here to do her content. And so what we came up with is the idea of sort of sacred time, that we have 4 hours. I think it's 4 hours blocked every single day, like a time slot in the morning that is my time, 7:30 to 8:30. I do whatever I need to get done, plan for the day. Then 8:30 to 9:30 is hers, and I'm with our 4.5-year-old. And so there's other gaps in the time during the day that I'm with him, or I'm in here working because my schedule requires more of this than hers does. But there's still 2 slots in the afternoon where those are hers. And then a couple of days a week, I switch with feeding him and putting him to bed. So we had to kind of put that sacred time aside for us because he's a 4.5-year-old. He needs that kind of attention on a regular basis. And conversely, we each need to be in here, would be able to close that door, turn some music on the Alexa, and just, probably turned it on. And just, zone out for like deep work or content or whatever we need to do. But to your point, you have to find some rhythm, that works for you, because it's going to be different for sure. What would you say out of this whole experience? I mean, not to focus too much on negative or the challenges.
Oh, no, absolutely.
But what would you say is like if you were to pick out like one positive for yourself or your schedule, your family that's come out of this, what would that be?
It's going to sound weird, but time. I'm dealing and managing with time differently. I am making the time to do things like connect, to reach out. I'm no longer living with the adage of, oh, I'll do that the next time, or I don't have time for that. I'll do that later. I'm not a handyman. That's one of my things I'm just not good at. My honey-do list is more like, hey, can you just do laundry? That's about as far as it goes. But so I'm not redoing the patio or, replacing, some kitchen fixtures or something like that. But I'm trying to find ways to utilize time better. And I challenge myself every day to tell myself when it's okay. You've done enough today. It's time to punch out, right? But I'm also challenging myself to find ways to utilize time in a different way, or even potentially better. I've been spending more time with some of my mentees. So like at Cisco, obviously we've got our ASE program, right? We've got, folks early in career. I've been a mentor to some of the CSAP classes, and I've been really spending some time with my mentees from there. My mentees from there. So I've been mentoring some folks who have, aspirations to become an SE manager one day. Some folks who just want to know maybe what that next potential step is. They don't know what it is, but they want to talk things through. They want to understand various aspects of the business. So I've been going out of my way there just to make sure that we're talking and touching base, especially, the newest folks in CSAP, right? They're used to sitting in a space together, sharing that experience. I mean, the epitome of being a team physically together. And for the first time ever, they have to work remotely by themselves.
Tough.
Right.
And so just a clarity for the audience out there, our CSAP program, if you're not from Cisco, because these do get posted on YouTube, so lots of folks can see them. If you're not from Cisco, CSAP is sort of an early in career program where we bring in very early in career, right out of college, into our program. We teach them how to be either a field systems engineer in sales or an account manager. And throughout that, they typically work with a cohort that is, they sit in the same room, they do these activities in a learning program. And to your point, like, that's tough because for us, you and I, for SEs, AMs, we already have relationships we're building with customers and with our team that we're working on. But when your group is just your group and you cannot be around each other and that's all you have, there could be a sense of abandonment that happens really quick when you have no other experience to fall back on. That's tough. So, it's a different sort of challenge that those folks feel.
Yeah. And if you think back to when we first started working from home, wherever in your career that was, y'all, at least for me and most folks that I've talked to, you have this chip on your shoulder, because you don't have a time clock, right?
Yes.
And you may work crazy hours, right? You may feel like I have to do even more because I'm working from home. I don't want people to think I'm not getting the job done. So to be in your early 20s potentially and do this for the first time and be fairly fresh out of college, it's not normal for them. They have a normal shift essentially that they work together. And then now it's wide open, right? We don't have commute time anymore. We don't have, the water cooler time just to decompress, to walk to the coffee machine or drive to lunch together or grab a cup of coffee together. Those pieces are missing. So now everything's jammed together. And, that's where a lot of our conversations are, where it's okay to unplug, or where it's okay to say, you know what, I know normally I'd still be working, but I got to be done for today. I need this right now. I need this extra hour. I need whatever, because we both know the commute's gone. Here in Chicago, on a good day, I'm in the office in about 50 minutes to an hour, right? That's part of my normal routine. It's usually somewhere in that range to get to most of my customers. Some of them are as far as 3 hours away, where I have 3 hours of windshield time. I don't have that anymore. It's a couple minute walk to the kitchen, make a cup of coffee, roll in here. And instead of getting ready now to leave and hit the road, I'm 100 miles an hour doing what I normally do until I stop. And that, that's good and bad. I'm getting things done, but now I'm forcing myself to create a new habit, a new rhythm. I'm allowing myself to unplug. And in the past, where I would just go to heat up a cup of coffee or get a fresh cup of coffee, or maybe grab a protein bar to kind of break up the monotony, I'm taking time. If one of my kids or my wife is in the kitchen, I'll actually stop. I'll talk to them. I'll spend some time with them. I'll even, my kids are older. They don't need my help, but I'll offer it. Not because I think they need me to do something for them, because I want to spend some time with them. Right.
It is such an important thing that I think it seems very counterintuitive in our historical sort of office culture, office-based cubicle farm work that many people came from. I was in the customer space long before I came into Cisco and sales, that if you're in the office and you get up to get some coffee, it's fine to stop and talk to a few people and socialize. That's part of what you do in the office. But there's this weird feeling when you're at home but I'm at home, so I need to be right here being productive. And so often productive is completely conflated with busy. They are not the same thing.
Absolutely.
But we feel this innate sense that if I'm here, then I'm doing the thing. And your point, I think, is it's so much more important now that you're at home all the time, that when you do go get that cup of coffee or protein bar or whatever, stop. Like, do you need to really walk back in here and stare at the screen? Are you actually being productive in that time period? Probably not. And you're probably mentally draining yourself. Why not take that 5 minutes? I mean, my wife was the one who told me a couple of years ago when we started down this sort of like, not weight loss, but like we just wanted to feel physically better. It resulted in some weight loss for both of us. But she was the one who used to tell me, Jeff, a 5-minute workout is still a 5-minute workout. It doesn't matter. It doesn't need to be an hour in the gym. We have a gym in the garage now, but 5 minutes on a treadmill with some music, or throw a kettlebell around, or whatever you want to do for 5 minutes, that is a workout. That is
absolutely.
That is complete separation from what you're doing. And you probably know this. I mean, it can be oftentimes that can be the trigger, and all you need to walk back and go, oh, there's that motivation I needed to do this thing that I wanted, but my brain just wasn't in it. Just need to get out of that for a couple. I think it's almost so much more important now to take those breaks than it was before, because you can easily work a 16-hour day at home. So don't do it.
Absolutely. And when you bring up working out and being healthy, one of the WebEx team spaces I'm in, and it's grown like threefold, if I'm not mistaken, like 300% since the entire stay from home movement piece has begun. We have a Peloton space.
You were telling me about that. That is amazing. Yeah. I love that.
There's like 300 some odd people, and people just jump in there and message, hey, again, because they're all around, all different time zones, or the folks in the UK, you name it. And we'll get a message, hey, I'm going to jump on a ride in 30 minutes if anybody wants to ride with me, right? And we'll jump on. We'll do it on weekends. We celebrate and ride together to get it out together. We actually follow the We Are Cisco hashtag, so you can see all of your fellow Cisco folks there while you're riding.
That is
we're having a good time. We're challenging each other, but we're also finding ways to unplug. And when I see that too, I'm like, I think to myself, this perfect moment, I'm going to take 20, like you said, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever it is. I can unplug for that long. Let me go. Right. And whatever else pops up, it'll be okay. It'll be there in 20 to 30 minutes.
Not going to go anywhere. If somebody really needed you and it was an emergency, that's what these things are for.
Yeah. So my phone's up there if they really need me. Otherwise, they can hang tight and wait. But yeah, no, and that's one of the other things that, I've forced myself to make time, not just for me, but for others. Yeah. I'm actually the Midwest, point person for the Filipino Professional Network here at Cisco. So we've got folks around the world. We kind of created our own little diversity group where we're trying to, promote that and some of the pieces we do and help out early in career folks, cultural things, you name it. And, we tried to make it really grow this last year and, been active there, and I've had time to do that. So we've been having some fun with that too. And I think it's just that making that time, where in the past, like I said, I would make an excuse. All right, next time. I mean, the thing I'm missing most is, getting out and eating, experiencing places and things. And honestly, if that's the worst piece right now that I'm missing out on, I'm okay. Right.
For sure. Yes, absolutely. Well, listen, Rolly, I really appreciate the time. This has been a great conversation. And I hope, I hope everyone can take away from talks like this that we all deal with this in such different ways. And it is totally okay to give yourself permission to do that thing that is important to you, whether it be a break, a workout, take a nap. That's okay. It is totally acceptable to go do that. You need that downtime. So anyway, Rolly, thank you so much for joining today. I really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff. Be safe. And anybody else who catches this, please be safe and give yourself permission. It's all good.
Absolutely. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining At Home again. Follow us each week on Monday afternoons, or when do I release these? On Mondays? I release them on Mondays. That's what it is. Every Monday when I drop these, I'm out on YouTube. I really appreciate it. And if you have any suggestions for folks to talk to, or conversation topics you'd like to see, please post them in the comments below. I would love a thumbs up on the video if you did like it. It does help the channel out quite a bit. And if you want to see more content and get notified whenever a new video comes out, just hit the subscribe button, and we will talk to you soon. Have a great day, guys.